All I gotta say is TGIF. If it's your first time at the show, welcome back. No, if it's your first time, welcome. If it's not your first time, welcome back. My name is Olivia. I work at the Museum of Broadcast Communications, and right now I'm in Aileen, general manager. Every week that's on TV. But this week is a little different. Hi, Aileen.
Hello.
I was just about to say why this week is a little bit different. Because this week we're talking about Black representation on television. Hooray!
Woo!
And I'm very excited. Yeah, that's all. I'm just excited. Full stop.
Full stop.
You look great. How are you?
I am alright. How are you?
You know what? I'm here. I'm hanging.
You had a big week. You've had a big week.
That's true.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Cool. Well, welcome, Emma. Welcome to the stream.
All you naughty little possums.
Welcome back to the stream, naughty little possums. Oh, how we miss Too Hot to Handle. Every
More
day
than
that
you
goes
know.
by without a new season of Too Hot to Handle is a day wasted.
Right? It should just be like an ongoing thing. And then when people get the green light and go to the thing and pass, then they leave and more people come in.
Yeah.
Like the perpetual stew of reality TV.
Yeah. I can dig it. I get behind it. Oh my gosh. Well, let's jump right in, shall we?
Cool.
I've got some hot goss for the week.
You got hot goss this week?
Yeah, do you have hot goss this week?
I do, but you go first.
I'm gonna go first because I like your hot goss better, I think.
You're not supposed to know what my hot goss is. Don't tell them. This is supposed to look really spontaneous.
Oh, I promise. It is. If anyone's wondering, it's spontaneous.
Hot goss.
My hot goss is honestly sad goss. Wah, wah. Because I really adore Kelly Clarkson, and I'm sad for her that she filed for divorce from her husband of 7 years.
I was sad to see that too, because I do love her. But I hope that this puts her in a better place. I don't pretend to know the circumstances of her life, so maybe this is for the best.
Yeah.
But Kelly, we heart you, and we wish you all the love, and hope this turns out.
At the museum, we had an exhibit called Stay Tuned from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And there was a special section on competition shows like American Idol. And there was a Kelly Clarkson clip. That would play right outside of our office door on a constant loop.
Kelly Clarkson!
Yeah, so I think that's part of why there's a special place in my heart for Kelly Clarkson now. And Fritz, I noticed, just shared our YouTube stream, so if anyone prefers YouTube as a streaming medium,
check it out.
Hop on over there, or tell your friends.
Thanks, Fritz.
Thanks, Fritz.
And Kelly, when you watch this, if you want to be on the show, hit us up. We're really busy, but we'll work something out.
Yeah, Kelly, come tell
For
us
you,
your deets.
Yes. Cool. My hot goss isn't hot goss so much as hot news.
Ooh,
and I'm really excited about the hot news for a couple of reasons. They announced this morning that Matt James is going to be the next Bachelor. So 2021, Matt James is going to be handing out roses. So if you're not familiar with Matt, he has been on The Bachelor before, or Bachelorette. He was scheduled to be in Claire Crawley's season, which got postponed and maybe canceled when the world turned sideways. We don't know what the status of Claire's season is. But he's not going to be a contestant there anymore. He is going to be the Bachelor in his own right. Important for two reasons. One, he's crazy hot.
I was going to say, this goss is hot.
That is hot. But two, he's going to be the first Black Bachelor. And I think that's so important. We've had one Black Bachelorette in Rachel Lindsay. We haven't had any Black Bachelors. So I'm really excited to see Matt do this. And, we will be watching and we'll be talking all about that.
Oh, yeah. When does it come out, Aileen? When does it start? May 2021?
Next year. next year, yeah.
I'm counting the seconds.
Can't wait.
We've got some new folks who joined us. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Emily. Hi, Merbles.
Merbles, I know who Merbles is.
Yay! Welcome.
I know that because he hangs out right over there.
OMG.
The secret's out.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Well,
so what are we talking about this week?
Speaking of the truly lovely Matt, we're talking about Black representation on television today. And, you know, kind of the history of it, the good, the bad, etc. So let's jump in with, dare I say, a brief history?
Sure.
So really I just want to talk about a few shows that really were game changers and kind of where we started, where we've gone, etc. So for really the first 30-ish years that television was a thing, I mean, even still today, honestly, but I would like to think that today, Black folks and people of color are not as pigeonholed as we once were, for the most part. But truly, for the first few decades of television, not just Black actors, but people of color were placed in stereotypical roles. I mean, if you think of the banditos from the Cisco Kid,
yep.
all of Amos and Andy. It was a Cisco show. And really, there are already books written, I'm sure, about complete lack of representation for Native Americans and how on television they were and are at times exclusively played by white people.
Right.
So it's tough out there. Also, there are so many things that go into it. First and foremost, racism. Television producers didn't think that people wanted to see Black folks on TV. They didn't think they wanted to know their stories. Really, people were only seeing Black people on the news, and typically far more often than white people as far as criminal activity goes. And we could jump into why that is and about...
We could spend weeks just on that.
Right. So if it feels like I'm making blanket general statements, it's because we only have 30 minutes. And I don't want to take any stances on behalf of the museum.
and it's interesting when you talk about going back like that. I just started watching Ryan Murphy's latest miniseries last night. It's called Hollywood, and it's sort of about old Hollywood. And right out of the pilot episode, they talk about studio executives saying, we can't put that person in that role because no one wants to watch a Black woman in a lead role in a film. And I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, and there are still people who believe that today in television, in theater, in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And also, it's hard to become an actor. It really, there is a lot of privilege that comes with being able to pursue that kind of career, to have a safety net, to be able to work for very little money, to work jobs that are few and odd hours. And so it's a white folks game in that sense. So just the accessibility of that field, it makes it more difficult for BIPOC to even get into it. And then once they do, they're constantly turned away. Something I was reading about this afternoon as I was thinking about this, and something that I have personal experience with, is the issue with hairstylists on television sets. As I say television sets, I'm like a TV, but I mean the set for television shows.
Gotcha.
and how Black actresses, specifically women, are constantly struggling with not having someone who can do their hair on set. Halle Berry, particularly in the 90s, I'll be honest, I haven't seen Halle Berry lately or looked into what she's up to, but she had her classic pixie cut, right? That iconic short cut, which is adorable, but really part of the reason why she decided to do that is because it was easier for white people to do her hair.
Wow, I did not know that.
Which sucks. And, you know, white hairdressers are usually often not trained in how to treat or style or cut Black hair. I grew up in Iowa, so let me tell you, I never cut my hair. So there are things that, you know, you don't even think about realize is just how many barriers there are in that industry for people of color.
And then you combine that with just the refusal to cast Black actors in what are very specifically a Black role. Like, it just compounds and makes it more and more difficult.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how the like silly Black friend in a sitcom, you know, like there's a lot of tokenization that happens. But let's talk about something happier, Aileen.
Okay.
I want to talk about Soul Train because this Soul Train was truly a game changer, which I always knew, but I never. When you start to think about it, the reason it was such a huge game changer was because so many people so many white people, which I even hesitate to look at this through the lens of a white person. But if we take a sec to look at it through the lens of a white person, this show highlighted Black joy. And it showed Black people in a way that wasn't the news. They weren't committing crimes. They were not having crimes committed against them. It was just joyful.
It was just art and joy.
Yes, and fun. And so that was huge because, unfortunately, the industry is a white man's world. And that's kind of what it took to get the ball rolling for folks. The other reason it's incredible is if we are now looking at it through a non-white lens, because of the racism and hesitation to put Black people on TV. Because when television started getting big, we really saw this like boom of culture, right? We started having this national culture. People are watching the same TV shows, saying the same phrases, et cetera, et cetera. But Black people didn't have that in a way that was their own because they were not seeing themselves on TV. So now with Soul Train, there's a national Black culture that's emerging. Mm-hmm. And it is unifying Black folks all around the country because they're seeing people who look like them on television and they're relating to it and dancing along and looking forward to it. And that's really neat to think about how that was so huge back then for television in general, but also, you know, it wasn't until Soul Train didn't start until the early 70s.
Right.
So, yeah, that is just huge. And even now, I mean, if you think about us being in quarantine for the last few months, so much of what is connecting people is what we're all watching and what media we're consuming. I mean, Tiger King, just like and things like that. So also, because Soul Train got so huge, then television executives were like, oh, okay, we can make money off of this, which, I've said it before and I'll say it again. People who make television love money. Can't get enough of that. But they finally started to I mean, yes, they were being opportunistic. We could say that they were taking advantage of this, but they then started casting Black people in commercials that would air during Soul Train. So now, one, Black actors are getting jobs. Two, people are seeing themselves represented on television in ways that are not just this one show, but now they're on commercials. These are Black folks selling me a product. I want to buy it. And so that was huge. And then another big game changer, which, disclaimer, another big game changer was The Cosby Show. Bill Cosby is obviously a bad man. We all know this to be true. But The Cosby Show was huge. And I don't mean in popularity, I mean as far as cultural impact.
And being able to see a Black family just living their life.
A wealthy Black family.
Right.
Black affluence is rarely represented on television, but especially in 1983.
Right.
Also, at that time when The Cosby Show premiered, the most popular shows, none of them were comedies. So it really, I mean, not even as far as like Black representation on television, but just as far as television, coming in with a sitcom like that had, you know, the goofy dad, the like kids with one-liners, all of those tropes, it really, it was huge. And the biggest thing is like, I mean, the Black doctors?
Yeah.
That's
what?
Like, and as important as that was for young Black kids to see that on TV and Black families to see on TV, it's just it was important for white folks to see that too, to break down some of those biases that are inherent. Maybe not inherent, but inherent through societal systems. Another thing, can you tell I'm trying really hard not to like go off?
I can.
Institutional racism. But something that's really interesting is this is fascinating to me. The more I read, I've been in a rabbit hole for days over this show. Because even today, top television producers, executives, whatever they're called, are not putting their eggs in the Black basket. And my unprofessional opinion is because they still believe that white folks are not interested in seeing these stories.
But I would say, like, from my perspective at least, the only real lasting exception to that have been the things that Shonda Rhimes has been making. Shonda's portfolio of shows have all been hugely successful with all kinds of audiences.
That's true.
But that's really the only strong example I can think of a current legacy of Black-run shows. And how many years did she have to struggle with Grey's Anatomy for someone to recognize, like, oh, they like to make money. This woman can make shows that bring us money.
Right. But also, Meredith Grey is a white woman. So it's not like, I mean, obviously Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, those star Black women.
Sure.
But
she had to start with a white woman to get traction.
Yeah. It's worth noting that Black Americans consume more media than any other demographic. They also, this is taken from a survey that was featured in multinational.com. That's my source that I'm citing.
Okay.
So, also statistically, the older demographic of Black Americans, so within each age bracket, where that sweet spot, 18 to 34, 35 to 55, and so on, are more likely to purchase new technology than other groups in those age brackets, and just generally consume the most media, specifically network television, especially since so many people are moving to Netflix and Hulu, etc. But Black Americans still outnumber other demographics in all of those categories.
Wow.
Yet, advertisers are still not investing in those markets. So in 2018, $18 billion was spent nationally on African American focused media, aka commercials, streaming content, etc., which was a decline from 2017. So if we're looking at network TV, that's 13% less than the year before. So the amount of money that advertisers and television producers are investing into Black-focused media is going down, even though the number of Black people who are consuming media continues to go up.
Well, that makes no sense.
That makes no sense. And I don't know what to make of those numbers because I am not, but that's just wild to me. Sadly not that surprising because, you know, nothing can surprise me anymore, but just fascinating.
So we've got about 10 minutes left.
Yeah, you've got some show recs, right?
I do. I was going to say, can we talk about some shows that we love?
Yes, please.
So I'm going to start in the binge-worthy category.
Okay.
Naughty Possums. I don't know if you are familiar with a show about 6 single younger folk that all live in the same building in New York. No, not Friends. Living Single, which was often offered as sort of counter programming to Friends, and was in the same time slot as Friends at some point. Living Single with Queen Latifah, Kim Coles, Kim Fields. Such a fun and great show that showed young single professionals that lived in the same building in 2 different households. In a brownstone in Brooklyn. I take a little bit of exception to the comparison to Friends just because Friends featured an unemployed actor, a waitress, someone who sang in a cafe. You look at Living Single and you have a stockbroker, you've got an attorney, you've got someone that runs their own business, like actual young professionals. But so much fun, right from the theme song, which Latifah wrote and performed, which I love. Super binge-worthy. Check it out if you haven't. Better than Friends. That's my official. Better than Friends.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about Shondaland, Scandal. If you haven't seen Scandal, it's a great guilty pleasure. Even if you just watch for Kerry Washington's outfits. And it's a show about a crisis manager, a fixer in Washington, D.C., who attains this ridiculous level of power within the infrastructure, but while being kind of behind the scenes. It's horrifying and amazing all at the same time. If we go out of binge-worthy, or did you have anything you wanted to throw into binge-worthy Black shows?
No, mine is present, current.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to move to present. What do you got?
Oh, great. I love Blackish. It is, I think it's reminiscent of The Cosby Show in the way that it is an it shows Black affluence, an upper class Black family in like a very white suburb. What I really like about Blackish, one, it's hilarious. Anthony Anderson's very funny. Tracy Ellis Ross is
amazing,
a genius. The kids are adorable. They're, especially in the beginning when they're like young. Oh, the twins are just so cute.
Yes.
But they also, every episode kind of, so Anthony Anderson's character, Dre, is trying to educate his kids about Black culture, even though they're growing up in this white neighborhood. And so through that, the audience gets to learn about Black culture. So there's one episode where they tackle some stereotypes. There's a neighborhood pool party, and they're the only family that don't get invited. And Dre is upset because he thinks that the neighbor assumes that they don't know how to swim, when in reality, he had done something to the neighbor that made them mad. Right. Things like that. They tackle stereotypes. They are sharing Black culture. It's a great show.
Do you watch Mixed Dish at all?
I have not actually seen Mixed Dish.
So it's actually Rainbow, the mother in Blackish. It goes back because she is mixed. She has a white father and a Black mother, and it goes back to her childhood. So we're now back in the 80s, or the early 80s, and sort of exploring her experience in, again, a white suburb, as a mixed kid who has Black grandparents and white grandparents. And that's really interesting. It's really interesting, too. It's hard to watch sometimes. It's a little cringeworthy because it leans into stereotypes and racism, but leaning into it is not always the worst thing.
Right.
But there's times that you're just like, oh! But then I can think, I remember hearing someone say some garbage like that in the 80s. That really happened.
Wow.
So on the current, love, Pose.
I have not seen it yet. You're always telling me to watch it.
You have to see Pose. Pose explores 1980s New York City queer, gender nonconforming ballroom culture. And ballroom, if you don't know what that is sort of, it's a lot of young Black and some Hispanic people coming together, and they vogue and dance and build these costumes and pose in the costumes. And they do it as a competition within these categories that are designed to satirize gender and class norms. So they're making fun of it while exploring it. They live in houses which are really alternative family structures that they've built because as Black queer people in the 80s, a lot of them didn't have biological families anymore. Their families got rid of them, so they built their own families in the forms of these houses. And it's the houses that compete against each other. Billy Porter, we love his fashion. He's the lead. He's the first openly Black gay man to be nominated or win an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama. He's amazing. And it has a huge transgender cast. I believe it's the largest transgender cast in TV history. And again, those are all people of color, mostly Black. But it's such an interesting snapshot of culture and time, like so unique to New York in the 80s that you couldn't get anywhere else at that time. And to kind of be invited into that and see it was wild and really, really fun. And then my last current watch, and Olivia, I know you've watched this one too.
Okay.
Is gonna be a Black Lady sketch show on HBO.
Black Lady sketch show. It's so good.
It is produced by a handful of badass Black women. Issa Rae, Angela Bassett, Laverne Cox, Nicole Byer all produced this. It's got 4 actresses. Created and written by Robert Thede. She's a Second City IO alum. She created it, she writes it, she acts in it. Also Ashley Nicole Black, Gabrielle Dennis, Quinta Brunson. And they just do They are 4 black ladies, and they do amazing comedy sketches, some of which are about black experiences, some of them are not, but they kind of turn everything on its side. The first season is done, it's on HBO. I know they've been picked up for a second season, it's not out yet, I don't know when it's coming. For the first season, there's even from episode to episode a sketch that lasts through all of the episodes that they just keep coming back to.
Yeah, that through line is really fun.
It is. It's a lot of those sketches are on YouTube. You can check them out. Just Black Lady Sketch Show. One of my favorites is the gang one. If you can find the gang sketch, that's really great. And Rome and Juliessa, which is their take on Romeo and Juliet. Some of my favorites. Check that out. Season 2 coming along soon.
Amazing. If you're into sketch comedy, actually also the Astronomy Club on Netflix is really fun. That's an all-black sketch group.
Cool.
It's similar style where they have that through line or their baseline kind of sketch. If that's even, I guess it's less of a sketch the way that it is in Black Lady Sketch Show. But watch it and you'll see. Also very fun.
Excellent. Nice.
Yeah. Anything else?
So those were the ones that hit me right up front. The other thing, I didn't realize that it ended. I thought it got picked up for another season, and it didn't. I did love She's Gotta Have It, which is on Netflix. It was based on the Spike Lee movie from the 80s. Updated a little bit. Dramedy, I guess is what we call the thing that's not quite a drama, not quite a comedy. But it's about a black woman in Brooklyn living her best life. She doesn't believe in monogamy. She has multiple partners sexually who are very fit into archetypes. There's like the easygoing dude and like the super, put together business guy, and then there's the really vain dude. But it's such a swing and counterpoint to traditional, like, it's okay for guys to be promiscuous programming, but, not a woman.
Right.
But like, she's an artist, and like the challenges that she faces as an artist and her identity, while also keeping these partners in her life. I didn't realize it wasn't getting another season, and that made me a little sad when I learned it. And interesting, Spike Lee actually wrote all of the episodes for the show as well. He directed some of them. And he, from what I've read in interviews, was appreciative he could right some wrongs, some things that, looking back, didn't age well in the film. But he said, you know what, we didn't need to do it that way. That doesn't make any sense. And change those bits when it turned into a TV show. So it's good for that.
Okay,
growth.
Yeah.
All right, Spike Lee.
Love that. Well, this went by so quickly, but Aileen, real quick before we go, I got a quiz.
Here we go. Quiz me.
Okay. Ready? You know that I'm a fan of this show, so I hope you know the answer. The Proud Family, which followed adventures and daily life of Penny Proud and her relationship with her parents and school friends, and also was a great series that really brought pop culture and black culture into their show. They had a character, a rapper named 15 Cent. Was the first original animated series on what channel?
VH1.
The Disney Channel.
Really?
Yes.
Did not know that.
I just watched the Proud Family movie the other day, and I gotta say, it holds up.
Nice.
Those little peanut monsters are funny. And then my next one is, who was the first black actor to win an Emmy?
I'm going to guess and be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess LeVar Burton.
No. That's a great guess.
Someone earlier than Roots?
It was Harry Belafonte. He won in 1960 for his TV special. And then the next was Bill Cosby, I believe.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So that's all I've got for you. I only have 2 for you today.
I have failed.
That's okay. I really thought you'd get the Proud Family one.
Sorry. So we did promise you guys we were going to get back to reality.
Well,
there goes gravity.
Reality television, anyway.
Right. And we're kind of shifting back there next week. Do you want to tell them what we're watching for binge week?
We are binging. Check notes, because it was a show that I was not familiar with. It is called,
we're binging We're binging Real Husbands of Hollywood, which is a fake reality show. It's a reality show parody that follows the same path as like any of the Real Housewives shows or whatever. But it's about husbands, mostly black husbands. I believe Kevin Hart stars in it and produced it. So we're in the first season, and I think this is one of the first things that neither of us have seen anything of.
No.
We're going to be binging the first season of Real Husbands of Hollywood in the next week. We'll talk about that next Friday. So we're scooching back to reality shows for you guys, because that's important and we love them. So yeah, we're going to check out Real Husbands of Hollywood.
I'm excited. That's going to be fun.
Next Friday at 5:30. And then, what's going on Tuesday?
What's going on Tuesday? Well, if you head over to our Facebook page, www.facebook.com, and then you click in the search bar and you type in Museum of Broadcast Communications, you'll find our Facebook page. And at 5:30 p.m., you can see our executive director, Susie Schultz, chatting it up.
Her happy half hour. So if you've got questions about the museum or our programming or what's coming down the pike, perfect place to ask Susie all about that.
Or
sometimes she'll have
hello.
Yep.
She's a great small talker.
She is that. Sometimes she's got special guests, so keep an eye out for that. But that's every Tuesday at 5:30 on Facebook.
Very fun.
And we'll be back next Friday
at 5:30.
So binge along with us. If you haven't already seen Real Husbands of Hollywood Season 1, I think there's 6 seasons, so we're not going to get through all of it. But we'll watch the first one.
Where can we watch it?
I believe you can see it on Apple Plus. You can see it on BET Plus, Amazon Prime. It's a couple of different places.
Excellent.